That's always so weird to me. Okay. Um, great. Well, let me just get this set up. Okay. Um, hello, everyone. Really good to see you. My name is Danielle Pereno, and I have met many of you before. Some of you I haven't met. And I just wanted to introduce myself. For the last few years, I've worked for the food group. My role at the food group has been the local food coordinator, most recently. And so primarily I've worked with a lot of farmers on getting local seasonal produce into the food group. This coming year will be the first year that my position will be buying directly from Big River Farms. So that's really exciting. Just like a quick personal update, my last week at the food group is this week. So while I have been the one communicating with you all over the last weeks about this program, another staff person, her name is Prim. She will be taking over the local food for every table purchasing program. And Prim wasn't able to join us tonight, but she'll get to watch this recording, and you're in good hands. So I've been working on some training stuff with her. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that. And I think we can just introduce the other food group and Big River Farms staff who want to introduce themselves. So maybe Becca, do you want to start?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I feel like I've met most of you, but for those that I have not met, I am Becca. I am the education specialist at Big River Farms. And yeah, happy to be here. I'll pass it off to Jess.
Hi, everyone. I think all of you know me. I'm Jess. I'm the program coordinator at Big River Farms. And in regards to the local food for every table program, I'll be helping with the back end accounting things, which we will get into more detail in this meeting.
Matt, do you want to go?
Yeah, hey everybody, Matt. I am the market specialist at Big River Farms and have been working pretty closely with Danielle and Jess on the back end, figuring out logistics for how this new program is going to look and what the transportation is going to look like and the invoicing and figuring out the FAQs. So happy it's all merging here and coming together, and excited to jumpstart this new program with you all. I'll pass it to Emilio.
You're muted.
Thank you, Daniel. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I'm Emilio. So my position is sustainable coordinator at the Big River Farms. I think I'm happy to be here. So can you continue, Pierce? Could you continue, please?
Hey everyone, I'm Pierce, as most of you know. I am the operations coordinator out here at Big River Farms.
Yeah, I'm Eleanor and I'm Pierce's wife. I live at Big River, so I'm the caretaker, one of the caretakers of the property, and I also farm at Big River under the name of Strongheart Farms, under the business.
We'll pass it over to Kazua.
I was gonna leave because I don't think I need a. Hi, my name is Kazuo. I'm the program manager. I'm just here to observe and see how this program is going to turn out, and I'm really excited. Thank you for joining us.
And then David is also here with us. David, do you want to introduce yourself? I don't think you've met probably a lot of, or maybe you have met some of the farmers.
Hi, good evening. My name's David Peoples. I am the Director of Programs at the Food Group. And I'm just here also just to listen, to learn, and looking forward to one day meeting all of you in person. So thank you for joining us. Also, too, I do whatever Kazua tells me to do. That's what I do here. So
Yeah, I like it. Okay, am I missing anyone staff-wise? I can't really see everyone, so sorry if I am. May.
I'm the last one. Oh, and May.
Marissa
Marissa?
too.
Oh, there's so many staff here. Okay, go for it.
I'm Marissa. I'm the new outreach coordinator. Sorry, I'm making dinner, so I'm not gonna turn my camera on right now. But yeah, I'm the new outreach coordinator. I'm mostly here in like a farmer capacity tonight, though. I also have a farm plot at Big River. Oh, and I'll pass it, May. You can go ahead if you're there.
Okay, I am May. I am farms. I working with Big River Farm for many years. Everybody know me. I'm farm operations specialist, and so everybody gonna see me at the farm. And so, yeah, welcome everybody. We're gonna see each other pretty soon next month. Pass to, I don't know.
I think everyone went.
Yeah.
If you didn't go, please speak now. Great. Okay. So we are just going to start to get into it. Housekeeping stuff, please just stay muted unless you're speaking. If you have any questions while we're going through this, you can type them in the chat if you want them answered like more or less immediately. Otherwise, we'll have a question time at the end. Well, sorry. First, we're just going to talk a little bit about food group and this program, and then we're going to just go over the FAQ for LFET together. So then after each FAQ, you can ask if you have any questions, I think. Okay, so great. So I just I'm not sure. I think there are some first-year farmers in this group, maybe not, but welcome everyone. I'm just going to give a little overview about who the food group is and how the food group relates to Big River Farms. So the food group is the parent organization, I guess you could say, of Big River Farms, which is a program of the food group. The program, the food group is primarily a food bank. So we serve agencies in Western Wisconsin and all around Minnesota. And our goal is to get good food to those agencies. And we do that in many ways, but one of the ways that we're focusing on as an organization is through purchasing from regional farmers like yourselves. And so we've been running a different program in the past called Harvest for the Hungry. And then at the farm, it was the Farm to Food Bank program. And so we're kind of combining all of these programs and turning them into one package called Local Food for Every Table. So Local Food for Every Table is a purchasing program, a wholesale purchasing program that the food group is running. And it's very similar to Farm to Food Bank, which many of you participated in last year. But there are a few differences, which we'll get into in a little bit. The goal of this program, or I guess sort of the way it works, is farmers are given a specific dollar amount for the season, and the food group purchases that up to that dollar amount in produce. And then that produce comes back to the food group warehouse, which is located west of Minneapolis in New Hope. I think some of you have been there, some of you haven't. It's a really nice space, and we welcome any farmer to come check it out at any time. But that's where your produce will end up once we purchase it. And then the produce will get packed into mixed local food boxes, which are given out for free, which is really awesome, to our agency partners. And the agencies can order these boxes online. We have like an online marketplace for food shelf partners. We call food shelf partners agencies. So if I'm saying agencies, I also just mean food shelf partners. So the local food for every table program is, like I mentioned before, a wholesale purchasing program. It's a little bit different in that, like, we're not contracting with farmers for specific crops or specific amounts like you are doing with the CSA. But instead, we sort of see this program as a supplemental income stream for your farm. Like any successful farm business has several streams of income. So maybe you have 3 or 4 different markets that you're getting income from. You can consider the LFET, or local food for every table program, to be one of those streams of income. So it's not like your be all end all goal. It just contributes to your farm goal. And so Becca is just going to talk a little bit about how the LFET program fits into farmers' overall farm goals, and just speak a little bit more about how she'll work with you to fit it into your farm goals.
So when you're creating your crop plan, you will want to kind of have this into consideration, this LFAT program, seeing it as kind of an additional resource for marketing, and also kind of like a buffer for if you have extra produce, say when you're selling at the farmer's market and you end up having extra produce, you can use this market to sell that produce towards. So just making this a part of your crop plan, which is something that if you want assistance with, I can help you kind of implement this into your planning, and kind of just viewing this as just like another market opportunity, a supplemental opportunity for you. And I don't know if you went over like the allocated, have we gone over that yet? Like are you going to be going over that, Danielle?
We haven't gone over, do you mean like allocation? Or I can speak a little bit more about it. Yeah.
Okay.
So thanks, Becca. So yeah, like Becca said, this program is kind of like a safe space to build confidence in your ability to sell to a wholesale buyer. So it's like a safe space because we're the same organization. So there's a lot of like room for like asking for help, and like, you know, room to just like figure out how to sell wholesale if you haven't done so already. And so the funding for this program comes from the food group donations, so and also some grant funding. So we are purchasing the produce with this grant funding and donation money. Therefore, we can't necessarily like promise this as a continuous stream of income for your farm year after year. So we just want to make sure that you know that, so that you're not relying on this exact funding amount into the future. And we want to encourage you to continue to build your markets as well. So also, Just kind of like a side note, we wish we could just give you all the funding just right off the bat. I know that would help so much with like startup costs, right, for farming. The thing is, it is grant and donation funded, and there are restrictions on that funding, and it has to be spent on produce specifically. Okay, so we're gonna just go over the frequently asked questions. So Jess is gonna pull that up and screen share with you all. I did send out, oh no, I didn't do that yet. I'm going to do that. An updated version of the frequently asked questions, because we made a few changes. I sent out a welcome email to all of you. It included this FAQ. It also included like price lists and crop preference lists. If you did not get that, please let me know via email, or you can let you can let me know after this meeting or tomorrow via email. And then after that, send all inquiries about this program to Prim, who I mentioned earlier is going to be taking over this program. And her email is in the new FAQ that I will send out. I'll also just include that in a general email to all farmers before my last day on Friday. Okay, cool. All right, so how is local food for every table program different from the farm to food bank program? Like I mentioned before, it's pretty similar. There's a few differences that, Matt, do you want to just mention kind of like bullet point what the main differences are if farmers have participated in the past?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Danielle. I think there's probably three biggest ways that it's different, but like Danielle said, it's fairly similar. The primary difference that Danielle already mentioned is the past couple of years, the Farm to Food Bank program, we still started the season on the administrative side with a pool of funding that came from grants and private donor money, like Danielle mentioned. But as an organization, we hadn't shared, we didn't allocate individual funding amounts to each of you as farmers, and had presented it more as still a supplemental market for you to sell produce to if you didn't have another independent market or a CSA contract with Big River Farms to sell produce to. And we were kind of trying to keep track of total amount spent on the back end as we were doing accounting and administrative work to track it all. So that's kind of one of the big differences this year is that we still know how much funding we have from that grant money and that donor money, like Danielle mentioned, but we divvied it up based on how many farmers are in our program, both returning farmers and first-year farmers, and allocated that funding based on the amount of land that you have access to at Big River Farms, just based on, how many years you've been in the program, and how much of that land you're growing on versus cover cropping. So that's kind of how the allocation happened behind the scenes. If you saw that email from Danielle about your total funding amount, that's how that was created. So that's kind of the big main difference. And the hope is that, on the staff side, that'll help us more with tracking things so that we don't accidentally overspend money that we don't have. But also the hope is that it'll serve as a tool to educate and empower you as a farmer to know how much you have to spend throughout the whole season. And the hope is that it will allow you to kind of pick and choose when it makes the most sense for you to sell excess produce you have. So for example, when we were doing end of season check-ins with farmers last season in the fall, something we heard from a few folks was the Farm to Food Bank program was great because it allowed that flexibility as a supplemental market to sell additional produce, but also knowing that it wasn't a contract and you as a farmer could kind of tap into it as needed when you had extra produce. We heard that feedback from farmers that was really helpful. So an example somebody shared last year was it was really great to be able to tap into the program like on the bumper seasons in the early spring and in the late fall when there was maybe some extra produce that couldn't be sold at a farmer's market or if CSA season was already over. So I would encourage you to think about it through that kind of lens too of, you know how much you have up front to spend and kind of pick and choose how you want to spend it throughout the whole growing season based on your needs and what other markets you might be growing and selling for. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the past 2 seasons with the Farm to Food Bank program, we typically did 2 harvest and delivery days per week to our food shelf partners. So the slight difference this year is that we're working to do just 1 weekly harvest and delivery day. And like Daniel mentioned, instead of having a Big River Farms staff member do those deliveries directly to food shelf partners like we have the past 2 years, we'll have somebody who is an existing staff member at the food group come do a weekly, once a week pickup of all those harvests, all the produce you turn in for this program. And then they'll bring that back to New Hope and a bunch of folks will pack it into boxes like Daniel mentioned for distribution to food shelf partners. So 2 days down to 1. And I feel like there was one other major difference. Do you remember what it was, Danielle?
That they won't be working through Big River staff. They'll just be working with me / now Prim. Like I'm Prim, So instead of talking to Matt or other Big River Farm staff about what you have available in excess produce that week, you won't do that. Instead, you will email Prim at her emails in this FAQ, and we'll get into that a little bit more. The other difference is that we won't be able to accept all produce that you have excess. This is kind of like an offer and purchasing system. So it's not like a place to just bring all of your excess. We can't purchase all of your excess like at once all the time. I'll get into that.
Okay. I had one other thing too, Danielle. Thanks for bringing that up. The one other thing I was going to mention is the past couple of years with the Farm to Food Bank program, because it wasn't contracted and because we were kind of rolling it out in real time and figuring out the logistics, we weren't requiring you as farmers to turn in invoices with your harvests for this program. So that'll be another difference this year. Similar to CSA, if you've participated in our CSA program in the past, there'll be some type of purchase order that Danielle or now Prim will give you based on those conversations you have on a weekly basis. And we'll request that you turn in an invoice with all of your harvests at the farm. And the delivery driver, part of the reason we're doing that is because the delivery driver needs to have those when they pick up the food in case they get pulled over or stopped so that they have documentation for what they have. And part of it is also, trying to lean into best practices for wholesale purchases and teach those skills to you as well as you're learning how to sell the wholesale if you haven't before, because a lot of outside wholesale partners will request that too from you as you're developing other wholesale markets in the future.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so thank you, Matt. So when will this purchasing program begin? Purchasing will officially begin on Monday, June 6th. So starting Monday, June 6th, you're able to begin making email or phone call produce offers to Prim, who again isn't in this meeting, but will be watching this recording. And email is preferred. We'll get into, can you scroll down a little bit, Jess? Great. We'll get into how to send the email in a moment. So do I tell Big River Farm staff what produce I have available through the LFET program each week? No, we just mentioned this, but instead of working with the staff at Big River, you will email or call Prim or Primrose. She's the food group's sourcing coordinator on a weekly basis, and you'll email her with your produce offerings. You send available produce for week of delivery. So this is different from the CSA. With the CSA, I know you're doing like a week in advance. With LFET, you're making offers via email for what items you have on Mondays by noon. And then at the end of the day on Monday, you will know what we're going to purchase for that week. So the pickup will probably be mid to end of week. We're not really sure what day it will be yet. So just know that in your mind, it's for same week. You are definitely welcome to send what you have available on the Thursday or Friday or over the weekend before that Monday, but you just have to get your offer in by Monday at noon.
Can I
okay.
add one thing, Danielle?
Yeah.
Just from a logistical standpoint, I was going to say, because the layout is, making your offers by noon on Monday for this program, I would say take into account too, like what you might be selling for other markets throughout the week. So on Mondays, you'll already have a purchase order from me for what we're buying from you for CSA that week, which will be harvested on Tuesday for our Wednesday packing. So think about that, like what you have on contract or what we want to buy for CSA. Think about, other markets you have, whether it's farmers markets coming up or your own CSA, and just take those things into consideration. So you have a good sense of what you might have extra for those Monday offers to Primrose.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Matt. Okay, and yeah, Prim's email and phone number are here in the FAQ, and also just, I think, put them in the chat. Okay, question 4, will LFET be able to purchase all excess produce we have available each week? No, we won't be able to accept it all every week. Each farm is able to sell up to their total allotted funding amount for the whole season. Having said that, like if you had, having said that, we're still balancing purchasing from all of the other farmers at Big River in addition to our like wider network of farms. So sometimes we won't be able to purchase everything that you offer, even though you have, X amount of dollars. It's a bit like a bidding process essentially. However, we will make sure that we reach your allocated funding amount. So you don't have to worry about, oh, they're not buying like all of my cucumbers right now. Like, how am I ever going to get all this funding like spent? It will happen and we can work with you on that. So I think just as you're making offers and Prim is purchasing, if any questions are coming up about that, you can reach out to her and just see how it goes. So how do you make weekly produce offers? So we ask that you email all offers to Primrose, the sourcing coordinator, at her email address by Monday at noon. She will then confirm with you what produce the food group can or cannot purchase for that week by the end of day on Monday. And a digital purchase order will be emailed back to you to finalize the order. We're selecting produce based on the needs of our food shelf partners primarily, and balancing that with your farm's funding allocation and purchasing from other farms. So because we are serving food shelves, there are specific produce items that we are not able to buy. Leafy greens, fragile leafy greens, I should say, are like an example of something that doesn't really work well for food shelves. A lot of them don't have proper storage or refrigeration capacity. So please reference the preferred crop list when you're thinking about what produce to offer. Jess, would you be able to scroll down a bit? Thank you. You can keep going down. So that's an example right there of like kind of how to offer. So be really specific. Like, hey, Prim, I have red beets bunched 100 pounds available. I have, just use that as kind of an example. Okay, how will I know when my offer is confirmed? Prim will email you back by the end of the business day on Monday with a purchase order for that week. Yeah, that's all you'll know. What produce items can we sell? Again, refer to the preferred produce list, which was sent as an attachment in the LFET welcome email. If you need it to be resent to you, you can reach out to Prim. I think Matt and Jess also have that. So yeah.
I was going to say, we can also print out paper copies if folks would prefer a paper copy, and we can have those available at the farm office or in your mailboxes at the farm too.
Cool. Yeah, is our farm's funding amount set in stone? Is there an opportunity to sell more than our allotted amount to the food group? Right now, your funding amount is the final amount that your farm is eligible for during this growing season. Again, that amount was determined based on the total available funding and the amount of land you'll be actively farming at the farm. So at this time, the email that you got from me with your funding amount is the amount that you'll be getting for this season. So will we be purchasing firsts or seconds produce in this program? So the beauty is that we can purchase both. So through this program, you can sell high quality firsts or seconds produce. We expect that all produce is appropriate for consumption. Minor blemishes, discoloration, size variation are all within the realm of acceptable as seconds produce. We have if you look at the produce price lists that I believe I sent out in the welcome email, there are 2 tabs at the bottom. It's an Excel sheet. One tab is for firsts and then another tab is for seconds. So if you think that your product fits into a seconds category, that you wouldn't get normal wholesale firsts price for if you were selling it to a wholesale buyer, then you would probably use the seconds price list for that product. If there are questions about that kind of in real time, like, well, I don't really know, you could ask, probably Matt would be a good resource in that situation, but also you can email Prim or call her and explain like what it's looking like, and she can say like, that's first or that's second.
Yeah, I know that you kind of explain it in this section. Can you just briefly explain for new farmers what first and seconds produce means?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so firsts produce is kind of what like we call produce that is like exceptional quality, like the highest standard, something that would sell on a retail shelf at a grocery store. It checks all of the boxes of being high quality. And seconds produce is produce that maybe is slightly like under that in quality or size or shape, or not so much shape, but if there is like some damage to the produce, like hail damage, for example, if there are like some spots on the kale, or if you have butternut squash that got like frost hit it and it's not going to keep as a storage squash, those kind of things count as seconds quality. Yeah, again, we can talk more about that, or you can ask more questions about that well, I guess we weren't really doing, well, we can ask questions at the end. We're almost done. Okay, so how should produce be packaged? All produce should be packaged. Oh. So I know last year you would turn in like totes of produce. This is something I'm realizing that we didn't totally figure out yet. But like if we are buying for, well, basically all produce should be packed like following typical wholesale packing standards in normal boxes that you would wax boxes that you would pack into. We are paying normal wholesale prices. And so this is something that is an expectation. Matt, if you are like want to add anything to that, if you can figure out a way to do it differently and have them deliver in totes, that's up to you. But I think that is like a main difference, at least as far as my expectations would go for this program.
I have a follow-up question. We can talk about this offline too and get back to you all, but I'm curious, since it's being repacked, once it gets to the warehouse, is it necessary to still have it in wax boxes as opposed to harvest totes?
I think the only reason why we wouldn't accept it in the harvest totes is if there wasn't a good way or like a good system to get them back and back to you and then get the farmers. So to give them, turn them in again. So I think that's a good point, and we can talk more about that. So we'll get back to you all on how it should be packed. Stay tuned. Okay, so the deliveries, instead of you having to drive to the food group, which is what a normal wholesale buyer would require, the food group is going to pick up produce from the farm once a week, and the details of what day will be determined soon and will be communicated with you. Oops, muted myself. So that's kind of the general info about, oh, there's more. Can you scroll down? Oh yeah, invoicing. So like I mentioned, a purchase order is going to be emailed to you by Prim. You can use that to create an invoice, and all farmers are going to be responsible for creating your own LFET invoices and must submit them upon produce turn in. And Matt will guide you through this process. He has a virtual class, I guess, on how to sell to Big River Farms. So Matt, do you want to talk about the invoicing process and how you'll support farmers in figuring that out?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Danielle. So yeah, like Danielle said, there's this class coming up on March 10th, which will be a virtual class again. And at that, I'll go through kind of the whole range of processes involved in harvesting and turning in produce for any markets at Big River Farm. So it's primarily our CSA, if you have contracts with us, or this LFET program that Danielle has been talking about. So we'll kind of go through during that class more details about labeling for different markets and the required information for those labels to help keep track of everything. And we've been talking as farm staff about potentially installing like an enclosed mailbox in the pack shed where you'll be turning in produce, so that if farm staff aren't there and you can't like physically hand a copy of your invoice to somebody, that there'll be a secure place where you can put that invoice so that when the driver comes to pick things up, those will be handy and available for them. So we're still working through what that's going to look like, but hopefully we'll have some sort of a like mailbox with a slot in it and a lock, where you can securely store those invoices and turn them in if there's not farm staff to physically hand them to when you're turning in your produce. But we'll talk about all that in more detail at this class coming up on March 10th. And again, if you're not able to attend that in person, we'll record it, so it'll be available for you to watch afterwards too.
Thank you. So that's kind of all I have got for information. If you have questions, now would be a good time to ask them, and you can type them in the chat, or you can just talk.
Hey, Danielle. Danielle, can I say something?
Yeah.
So going back to your point about the quality of the produce, if you are selling or packaging produce that might not be the quality that meets the standard, and you submit that, just know that the team at New Hope might have to return, or they're not going to return that produce to you, but that amount will be taken off of your invoice. So just in order for you to get the full amount that you're submitting, just really make sure that the quality that the produce that you are turning in meets the quality standards, so that you will get the whole amount. But there might be times where you pack something a few days before, and then because it's really ripe or because it's fragile or there's some kind of damage to it, and then it's been sitting in the refrigerator, when it gets picked up, it might not be the standard that you thought it was. So just really being mindful and checking your produce twice before you submit it.
That's a good point. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, so the goal is to get, like food with dignity to people. So if you wouldn't, well, that's maybe not a good example because I know farmers eat like the yuckiest looking food. So basically, just make sure when you're submitting your produce, if it is a first quality or a second quality. And again, yeah, seconds don't mean trash. Like seconds don't mean they're going to the compost tomorrow. Seconds mean they still have a shelf life of probably at least 5 days. So please just keep that in mind.
Can I add one thing to that too, Danielle? Similarly, from a purchase order and invoice perspective, and we can definitely talk about this more in the class on March 10th. But just thinking about if you do turn in something, whether it's a first or second quality, and for some reason, like if you have issues with pest damage, or if there's weather issues, or for some reason, like if what you've offered to Prim on Monday is no longer available, make note of that on your invoice. So that way, when it gets delivered to New Hope, there won't be confusion about why there's some produce missing potentially. Same thing for CSA. And again, we'll talk about that more on March 10th, but ideally the invoice will kind of line up with what the purchase order says, and they'll match, unless there's some issue, like I mentioned, like pests or weather damage that pops up. So just make sure when you're filling out those invoices that it matches the produce that you're turning in. And again, we'll talk more about that and go through some examples on March 10th.
I just had a quick question. We were just looking at the preferred crop list, and it looks like tomatoes are not on there. Is that just something that maybe forgot to get put on there, or are you not accepting tomatoes this season? Yeah, just wondering there.
I think that was a mistake because we definitely want tomatoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sigh of relief. You made me think, Pierce, about another kind of minor difference from last year. I know kind of the only limitations we had on the farm to food bank program were case limits, just based on the capacity of food shelves to accept things. So I know in the past we said a limit of 5 cases per produce item on a weekly basis. And the other limitation was that a lot of the food shelf partners couldn't accept herbs. So the past 2 years, we weren't accepting any herbs for food shelf deliveries. But I think that has changed because I saw a few herbs on that preferred produce list from food shelf partners. So something to keep in mind as you're thinking about crop planning and selling things to this market.
Yeah. I think if like herbs are like bunched properly and packed properly, like depending on how we'd end up deciding how they'll get turned in, like yes, we definitely will accept herbs. If there's anything on the list or not on the list, like I think it shouldn't be missing that many things, but if something stands out to you, like the tomato example, please email Prim to bring it up. And it's sort of like the least desirable produce doesn't mean that we won't ever purchase it. It's just, it might not be in as large a volume or as frequently as other produce.
I have another question, Danielle. Would you suggest, or do you think it's doable for farmers to make offers of produce that are not on that preferred produce list, just to see what food shelves are looking for, and if Prim has some more insight, like on a weekly basis, if farmers have something that's not on the list, to say, hey, I've got this, like, would you be interested in it?
Yeah, I say there's no harm in offering, like, so the worst that could happen is we just say, no, we can't accept it. But I think it's a good skill to, yeah, just be able to offer what you have, keeping in mind that we do have some preferences, like all wholesale buyers will have preferences. But yeah, sometimes if you offer something that's not on the list, we might be able to accommodate. It just kind of depends on what the needs are of the food shelves that week.
Hello, hi, question. This is Porfirio Flores.
Hi, yes. Hi, Porfirio. Yeah. Good.
I have a question for Matt and you. I need to have the limit how much has to buy the CSA, how much is for the food bank or shopping.
Matt, that was, oh yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Porfirio.
How are you?
Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I'm glad you're back from Guatemala. It's good to see your face.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would say let's chat offline, me, you, and maybe we can work with Becca too as your crop planning to figure out what makes sense for growing for CSA, and if you have other markets, so we can kind of dig deeper into the seeds you're purchasing and what you're planning for your crops.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're growing a lot for like for example, CSA is contracted, right? So that's something that you can buy seeds for, and maybe you have extra seeds and extra plants you're growing on top of those contracts. So like say on a weekly basis, we're getting like 100 ears of corn from you, but maybe you have like 200 available in the field to harvest that are ready to harvest. Then you could say, oh, hey, I have this like extra 100 head or 100 ears of corn, and would you accept that for this food shelf program? So that's kind of a way to think about it, but we can definitely work, Becca and I can work more with you as you do your crop plans and your seed purchasing.
Yeah, okay. I did every year I do an extra plant to in case miss case something like tomato or cucumber. I have an extra for making cover to another people's in case happen.
Yeah, so I would say let's talk more about it, and then kind of going back to what Danielle presented, like on a weekly basis, if you see that you have extra tomatoes or extra cucumbers, then you could reach out to us and email Prim what you have available. And if email is an issue or you can't access email, we can talk about it and we can send that email too to let her know what you have.
Yep. Yeah, this is what I need to make my number and by ordering the seed to making sure didn't extra for each plant.
Yeah, I think I do think like it's kind of good to see this as a market for extras, like you're talking about, Porfirio. So I think, yeah, you're thinking about it in the right way. But I don't know. Soon, Becca, have you and Porfirio met yet? Okay, so Porfirio, you'll work with Becca, who is working at Big River Farms now. So she'll help you figure out more of your planning.
Okay. How to contact to back? How to see in
Mhm.
on the farm, or how to call it by phone?
Yeah. How about Becca? Will you call Porfirio?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
maybe. Cool.
Yes, I can call you.
Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yep,
good.
Great.
I'll get a
This,
hold of you and we can chat.
this I wanna know to have my number and order my seed to have it ready to when it's time to seeding.
Yeah. Yep, we can talk about that. I'll call you. We have your
Okay.
phone. I think we have your, we have your phone number.
Okay. I think everybody
Thanks.
phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. This is my big question. You know, I want to know, making sure to talk everybody know what I do. Yeah.
Perfect.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other? Thanks, Porfirio.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions before we end? We just have a few minutes left. No. Okay, well, if anyone has questions, please email Prim. You can email me, and if after Friday, you'll get an automatic email that says I don't work at the food group anymore, but here is Prim's email. So you can email either me or Prim, but eventually you'll be communicating with Prim. So if you have any questions, that's the first place to start. I know that Matt and Jess and Becca can also support you in getting in touch with the right staff person to support you. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And I'm really gonna miss all of you who I already know. So yeah, take good care, and I'll
We're
see
gonna see you.
What?
Do we still see you, or we're not gonna see you at all?
Wait, who sang that? May?
Hey,
Oh, I'll still see you, May. Like, I think I'll come visit the farm during the
Okay.
season, but I won't be working anymore. But I'll definitely come to the farm at least once this summer to say hi. And my new job is actually working at another incubator farm down in Northfield called Sharing Our Roots. So if any farmers want to come check out that farm, maybe you could do like a visit or something. Yeah.
have fun.
Thanks, May.
Good
Before
luck,
we all
Danielle,
jump
on your
off,
new job, and we'll see you. Bye, everybody.
before we all jump off, I was just gonna say, I wanted to give a big shout out and appreciation to Danielle for putting together everything on the back end. I know it was a ton of work, so thank you, Danielle, for all your hard work getting everything set up.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Thank
say that
you.
myself before we round it up, but thank you, Matt, for saying that. So
Thank
Matt,
you.
we really appreciate all that you've done,
Miss
Danielle.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.